Jeremiah Smith has been offered $4.5 million.
It's free agency on your own team. Every year, a coach has to sit down and hand out the bag. Tampering has reached an all-time new height in the world of college football and NIL, and it's getting so rampant that Pat McAfee, one of the biggest shows in ESPN, one of the biggest figures in all of college sports and all of sports, period, is constantly talking about it. Most recently, Jeremiah Smith and Mr. Cartel Tate, I apologize, number 17 from Ohio State, and number 4 wide receivers, big bad dogs. They just won the national championship, had a great run. Jeremiah Smith did elite damage, so now people are saying, offering deals upwards of $4.5 million. Let's see what Pat McAfee has to say. And of course, we have plenty of articles and tweets and things like that to get into it. If you enjoy these videos, watching them, man, like a video if you like it, dislike if you don't like it, subscribe if you enjoy college football, and let's get right into it.
I mentioned it a few different times. Jeremiah Smith is going to get a massive offer immediately after this season's over. That's what the NIL is. That actually led to Coach Saban saying, to your point about that, we need some sort of, we shouldn't be saying that Jeremiah Smith might be gone from Ohio State immediately after this national championship, because the way the world is, it's like, well, there is a chance. And allegedly, Jeremiah Smith has been offered $4.5 million. Carnell Tate, the other wide receiver alongside Ibuka and J.J. Smith, $1 million plus offer in the transfer portal. We don't know what's real and what isn't real in these reportings. Remember, North Carolina allegedly offered Quinn Ewers $8 million or something. Michael Lombardi said, that didn't come from me. I don't know who that. We like Quinn Ewers, but we're not spending $8 million on a quarterback, especially if he's never done anything here. There is every team in college ball that would try to get Jeremiah Smith on their team. So I assume Ohio State's going to have to deal with that. And will they just have to up their roster, up their salary cap? And is Jeremiah Smith the guy that says, I don't even want to hear it? I'm cool with what I'm doing right here. I know I'm on a trajectory to get to the NFL.
Luckily, Ohio State feels like that's not a place that wide receivers normally leave. With that Heartline with Ryan Day, with Chip Kelly now, with how well Jeremiah Smith performed in that offense just as a freshman, you would hope that he would realize that and not be antagonized away. Carnell Tate, I have seen a bunch of stuff about if he will or not, but also being the number 2 to Jeremiah Smith in Ohio State offense, just like a McAfee was to Jeremiah Smith, and then Marvin Williams Jr. Last year. Like, that's not a bad spot either. You would hope these guys realize this, but no, like Saban said, this shouldn't. Like, this sucks. Like that is a thing that Ohio State's like. I mean, I guess they earned it, but Ohio State should have the money to keep their guys.
Yeah, and we talked about them having the money at the beginning of the season. They're not the only ones. There's a lot of teams that have a lot of money. And all you need is one donor, one booster to be like, I want Jeremiah Smith on our team. Mm-hmm. How much money are you willing to pay? $10 million? I don't know. What does he want? What do we need to get him here? Because he's a game changer. And by the way, he is. And I hope you get all the money you deserve, Jeremiah, because of how great you are, how humble you are, your work ethic, and what you do on a football field. He changes the math. We were on the field watching it. Even against Texas, he did not play great, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did not play great.
Didn't have a bunch of production.
He had 1 catch for 3 receptions. Well, he had a safety, linebacker, and a corner over top of him. That opens up everything else for maybe Judkins, Henderson, Tate, and Ibuka, to your point in there. Mm-hmm. He's a game changer. He's a math changer. And Chip Kelly was just starting to cook with him with 1 year. Hopefully it all gets figured out. AJ, you guys over there in Columbus have a little bit of an issue, bub. Jeremiah Smith getting offered big money. Carnell Tate getting offered big money. Knowles, your defense coordinator, we talked about it during the break. We didn't talk about it whenever it was announced that Al Golden is going back to the Cincinnati Bengals and leaving Notre Dame. He's allegedly, potentially, going to go back to Oklahoma. That has a defense coordinator position open because that's where his family's from. That's where his wife's family's from. How do you feel about the Ohio State Buckeyes, and how quickly do they have to focus on next year's roster, and is that already happening over there?
I am sure it has already happened. I'm sure it was already thought about before they even won the national championship. Like, hey, if things work out the way we want to, like, people will absolutely try to come pluck some of our talent. So, yeah, I mean, you're a product of your own success, I guess, and that's the modern day college football, at least right now. You got to recruit your own roster, and it's crazy to think, yeah, a guy can be there 1 year, another team can entice him with a crazy amount of money, and they can just take off, and your best player can all of a sudden transfer. That could happen, but I don't see it happening in this case with Jeremiah Smith and Tate and everyone. But yeah, it's a real thing. I don't know what coaches are supposed to do.
Hashtag journalism. I'd mentioned this a couple weeks ago about being a possibility, because this is the reality of current college ball. Jeremiah, we got good. We don't have $4.5 million for West Virginia, but we got good facility.
Sure.
Gino went there. Your cousin obviously can uphold the incredible tradition of Smith family members dominating in Morgantown. But there's schools that have a lot. I mean, there's billionaires back in a lot of places. Could you imagine Michigan?
Oh my God, the world would explode.
Larry Ellison, who we know is he's chatty.
Yeah, he's bringing it.
He's doing a lot of chatting about things right now. We're $200 billion. He allegedly the reason why quarterback one goes up to Michigan. He gets together, puts the money out there. Could you imagine Michigan offers Jeremiah Smith $5 million a year, $10 million a year, just because? Just because? I mean,
that is unfortunately the modern day of college football. Now, of course, I can't play that in full, and I can't have it out there because Pat McAfee will execute and tombstone pile drive my channel, but I appreciate listening to the sound waves, Mr. McAfee, and of course the PMI as a whole, as they give the insight on the craziness. So just like we talked about, right? Ohio State is working to retain its top talent after winning the national championship. Jeremiah Smith has a 4.5 in Carnell Tate has a $1 million offer. Now, first things first, I do want it to be known that Mr. Jeremiah Smith, quite the humble kid, quite the top player. Look, this dude is not money hungry. Like, and that is, I talked about this in another video, and we'll talk about the reason why this is so problematic, actually, right? Because these dudes, like Caleb Downs, didn't go to Ohio State because he needed money. There was plenty of money in Alabama. Quinshon Judkins did not go to Ohio State because he needed money. There's plenty of money in Ole Miss. These, when you get to the top tier, it starts becoming NFL, right? Where less about money and it's a little more about fit when it comes to the free agency, right? How much does a team want you, and how much can that team give you what you need, especially when just writing a big number, which you talk about a group of five, you talk about the MAC, you talk about anything underneath the Power Five, put a number on a paper, and just that's what's happening. The richer schools like UNC, and I know Bill Belichick might not use it the same way, but richer schools like UNC who have funding and have money, but they aren't, and I know UNC's Power Five, but they're not a blue blood top tier school is really what I should say. Them not being on that level is going to make them benefit even more off NIL. But the Ohio States don't really benefit off of it. Alabama doesn't really benefit off of it because Jeremiah Smith doesn't need the money, right? Quinshon doesn't need the money. These guys don't need money. They want to be in a spot to achieve, whether that's national champions, whether that's getting to the NFL, or actually education. I know we kind of forget about that, but some of these dudes actually do want a dope education. So understanding all those things, right? I just want it to be known as we kind of walk down this path of pandering, know that it's two different worlds, right? And it impacts people two different ways, because a lot of people get in my comments and are like, well, I was expecting more parity and it's not really good. It's not going to be parity. It's going to be parity in the middle, right? In the middlings, right? That's why Colorado can get so good so fast. That's why BYU is able to consistently keep a team. I mean, there's Mormons out there, and first off, they've always had a very respectable football team, but they've been able to keep up as BYU of all places because they can, do what they need to do. So, like, there are multiple ways to skin a cat, right? And luckily, although this is a story about tampering and how crazy college football is, I think that if you're Ohio State, Texas, Michigan, if you're one of those, Alabama, I don't know, AD's begging for money, but if you're one of those blue blood teams with a lot of money, only thing you need to be worried about is who you're about to steal from a middling team or a smaller Power 5 team. Now, if you're a fan of, I don't know, let's say, ULM, Louisiana Monroe, if you're a Boise State fan, if you're a UNLV guy, if you're even though they're in the Big 12, if you're a West Virginia fan, if you're a Cincinnati fan, if you're a TCU fan, if you're a biggish team to middling team it might even be Power 4, y'all are gonna get absolutely hammered, right? It's not a big Jeremiah Smith though. Again, not only that, this is the other reason why those schools don't need to really worry about it. And if he does leave from a big school, you should be looking at that player, not looking at the school or getting more money, because Ohio State has the money to do it. They had the top 5 most expensive roster, and I'm not saying that to be mad at Ohio State because they beat my Texas Longhorns fair and square because we had one of the most expensive rosters. But they paid the players that they had homegrown. I want that to be very important. Very, very important to point out. Jeremiah Smith is not someone they took in the transfer portal. Jeremiah Smith is a true freshman, dog. They recruited Jeremiah Smith. They recruited not Will Howard, but they recruited a JTT. What's it called? Jack Sawyer. They recruited Ime Ubuka. These are people who have come through that are dogs, and they really respect and want to be Ohio State Buckeye fan. The Blue Bloods, that's what it's going to matter. So they're going to have to still do real recruiting. Like the biggest thing, I know that sounds crazy, but the big money boys are going to have to do real recruiting because $5 million is not going to move Jeremiah Smith. What? They're saying he could have been drafted before he took a play in Ohio State. And now that he won a national championship without breaking a sweat, they're like, oh yeah, is there a way we can invent a new draft for Jeremiah Smith? Please let me draft Julio Jones again. Like everybody's like licking their chops. So that's not going to be a guy who you throw $10 million at. Like, what? Like, at some point when we're talking about NFL money, right? The issues and problems of, like, it's like a diminishing return. It's so funny because we talk about, oh my God, all this NIL money. The funny part is the more money, and if you know this, if you know you've worked with money, if you dealt with money, the bigger that number is without being able to secure it, it starts meaning less and less, right? So if there's not going to be a contract where you say, oh yeah, for the next 5 years, we'll pay you X, they can't do that in the NIL world because you can't, pay for 5 years because, 4 years celebration. But not only that, but that's just not how NIL deals work. They're effectively on a year-to-year basis. Every year, Urban Meyer, kind of like this tweet says, and I want to read this from Mr. Pete Nakos. Urban Meyer won the inaugural college football playoff in 2014. He spent the following day calling recruits, high school recruits, that is. That's not a reality in 2025. When the Buckeyes arrived back in Columbus after winning the first 12-team college football playoff, Ryan Day went to work on retaining top talent. It's not only just a free agency in the transfer portal, it's free agency on your own team. Every year, a coach has to sit down and re-bag and re-hand out the bag to these It's crazy, dog. It's crazy. So this is more of a showing a light on, to be honest, what other schools are having a problem with. Because I think I said this in the Deion Sanders tampering video. I said this, and I was like, how much, like, do you know why schools self-report tampering? And like the small, self-report tampering stuff? Is because there's actual tampering going on. I've never seen anybody self-report, oh yeah, we offered $70 million while they were trying to Jeremiah Smith while he was in the playoffs, trying to get him into whatever. You never hear that. Only self-report sanction or problem you hear is like, oh yeah, we accidentally bought him 2 hot dogs instead of 1. Like, come on, dog. Like, it's because this is what's happening. Because behind the scenes, Jeremiah Smith's, you know how like you take a random girl's phone, or like a good looking girl's phone, just take it and look at the Instagram DMs and just scroll and just see how thirsty. That's what it's like. Go on a 5-star a transfer prospect. Open his phone. He just got money signs, dog. Just money signs. Just please come make my football team not so mediocre. And I understand it because the love of the game is crazy. But the love of the money is getting obscene, absurd. Of course, we have the Xavier Lucas situation. Again, this is, even though I would consider Wisconsin on the fringe of that blue blood, and I don't think they have as much money, but you've seen the Xavier Lucas situation. If you haven't, I have a video on my channel explaining the whole situation, the court proceedings and everything that's kind of, not court proceedings, legal proceedings and different things of that nature. But remember this, and I'll say it in brief. Xavier Lewis, in his representation, was allowed to forcefully go from Wisconsin to Miami without entering the transfer portal. He put his name in the transfer portal, but Wisconsin didn't approve the paper. So officially he wasn't in the transfer portal. Now, it does really means is that Wisconsin didn't do what they were supposed to do, because in the laws, you can't deny a player for entering the transfer portal. Again, go see the video for more details on that. But effectively, he forced his way to Miami. How else would he be able to get with Miami, know that he has an NIL deal, and be able to sign, seal, and deliver it? He had to tamper. Like, it's happening, and it's happening in broad day, and you're going to see these more mid people, again, Miami being a big blue blood school, snatching up this talent and doing it in a forceful way. So please, as everyone's focused on, oh my God, Ryan Day, oh no, Ryan Day might lose a 5-star wide receiver even though he has 15 more committed. Oh my God. No, dog. Worry about Wisconsin, because Luke Fickell is shaking in his boots, dog. Because they're trying to snatch up all the talent they can. Shout out to Jeremiah Smith. That dude's already rich. He's going to get even richer. You're looking at the next Julio Jones. Go check out my Jeremiah Smith video I did. We did a cool little breakdown. It's not as newsy and factsy as this video. It's more of a off-season style, obviously, because we're in the off-season. So remember, man, I'm kind of experimenting with off-season, trying different stuff. If there's any type of content you want to see, y'all let me know, man. Leave a like on this video if you like it. Dislike if you don't like it. Subscribe if you enjoy college football content. And don't be out there tampering, baby.